Hello, my name's Dustin Anderson, and I'm here talking about my journey to Oz Behind the Curtain assignment for evidence-based medicine. One of the first questions that we were asked to answer was, "What have we learned this semester?" Um, One of the things I learned pretty quickly was that I had a middle of the road understanding of what evidence-based medicine was and how it applied to the clinical setting. Um, from the first week, we learned the three components of evidence-based medicine, which are one, the best available evidence; two, your clinical expertise; and three, patient values. The first I knew was finding the best evidence, and two, your clinical expertise goes in there as well. And I think that's sort of a hard one for young athletic trainers. They've not been around for a long time in this field. I'm working on 4 years of experience, and I can only imagine someone that just had passed the BOC, adding that one in there. I think number two, your clinical experience, will only get better as you go along with athletic training for a few reasons. One, hopefully you've read a lot more, and two, you've seen a lot more. So I think that I'm looking forward to seeing that component of my evidence-based medicine practice to grow. Another one was patient values. I really didn't think this was part of evidence-based medicine, but from the information Dr. Games gave us and what's out there, I think this is a vital component to evidence-based medicine. After all, that's why we're here, is for the patient. So we got to know what's the best thing for them, and how what we're doing is going to affect them. And one of the things I liked is that we really learned how to find the best evidence, how to rate the evidence. I really didn't know there was rating systems out there for evidence, but after this class, I feel pretty confident in being able to read an article and putting it in a rating system. And that was another thing that we learned how to do, was to make an Excel document on the articles that we found, what they said, what the level of evidence was, and it's just a good way to organize your thoughts when you're looking up a question. And another thing that I got from rating the evidence is, what do I do if I find that there's just a lot of low evidence for a condition or an injury or a diagnosis? I wouldn't use it, basically, after this class. I don't want to be that athletic trainer that reads one or two articles and thinks that's evidence-based medicine. There's a whole process behind it, and that this class has really helped me understand that process and why it's important. And also, we've learned to how to apply what we found when we look at the articles, and how it links back to our clinical experience and our patient values. One of the biggest things that I've really taken away was how to develop a PICO question. I'll be honest, I really didn't know I knew what PICO, I knew PICO questions, but I really didn't know how to set up one, and more importantly, how to set up an answerable PICO question. But the chart that we had is pretty easy to follow, and it gives me a tool as a clinician. If something comes into my athletic training room, I'm unsure what it is or the best way to diagnose it or treat it, I can set up an answerable PICO question and go look for the best evidence and get a clinical opinion out of that. One of the things I really liked about the class was the Cochrane database. They have a lot of high-level evidence articles there, which is some systematic reviews and meta-analysis. With that being said, some things that we looked up didn't have a lot of high-level evidence, and that gives us an opportunity as athletic trainers moving forward to add to that body of evidence. And I think that's what is the purpose of the PICO questions, in the whole process of evidence-based medicine. If you find a lot of middle of the road or low evidence as a clinician, I think it's your responsibility to try to answer those questions and get better evidence out there. So some things that I still have questions about is really how to really what to do if the evidence is lacking, but what I'm doing is working. Again, it might be doing a study on it and getting that information out there. And I guess it goes back to that second component of evidence-based medicine, my clinical experience. I gotta if I find that there's a lot of middle of the road or low level evidence, but in my clinical experience, if what I'm doing is working, I'm not necessarily going to stop doing what I'm doing just because the evidence is low or moderate. Um, if what I'm doing is working, I'm going to keep doing that. Um, some things that I'm most proud of this semester is just making it through the class. What we had to do week to week was pretty intense. It was pretty challenging, especially working 40 hours a week, but I made it through. So, well, I guess I have one more assignment, and then I can officially say that I made it through. Um, then the stuff that we did week to week was directly applicable to our clinical setting. So it wasn't like I had a class and I had to wait till I graduated to apply what I've learned. I could literally go into my clinic the next day and apply a lot of what I learned, or I can get on my computer, go search a database, and find evidence, or make a PICO question, go look for the evidence. And for me, that was great because that was almost instantaneous um, way to apply what I learned. Some of the things that I viewed as the biggest challenge was the scientific writing section. Grammar's never really been a strong suit of mine. Um, I'm going to blame where I'm from in southwestern Virginia. Grammar's not really there. We like to eat a lot of words and stretch out a lot of vowels. But I think moving the athletic training profession forward, clinicians have to be able to write really well to add to the body of evidence. And, that's just a personal goal of mine, is to become better at grammar and writing. When I start writing articles and things, I'll be able to convey my message in a clear manner. Also, the presentations when we went to the on-campus portion was one of the biggest challenges. And naturally, I'm an introverted individual, and sort of I don't shut down with big groups, but I just sort of like to be quiet and watch. But the presentations actually, sort of took me out of that comfort zone, and was able to present my topic, talk about it. The feedback that I got from the other students, and the questions that I got was very respectful, very professional, and it honestly just felt like a mini conference. And I think that was one of the strongest parts of that weekend. It was just a room full of athletic trainers that love athletic training and they want to move the profession forward. So when I learned that and sort of got that through my mind, it made the presentation a little bit easier. But again, the presentation was one of the biggest challenges for me, just because just being an introverted individual. But if I do develop a PICO question, find good evidence, and more than likely I'm going to have to present it. So it's just something that I have to get over. And I think this class really helped me grow in that aspect of my weak areas, as talking in front of people. But it's been a good semester, and I look forward to the rest of the program. Thank you for your time.